Okay, everybody, welcome back. This is Speedtree demo part 2. We're gonna do a basic tree and like a shrub kind of bush. So it's like last time, Speedtree. You want to go to File, New. If you're just opening it up, here's our base tree node. Right-click, add geometry, trunks, standard. Here is our standard trunk. Like last time, I'm going to go into displacement and just bring this down. Another thing I'm going to do for a trunk is go under branches and flares. That's these little root flares. I'm going to change the size of these guys just to make this a little bit more believable. Something like that. I'm going to kind of make like a crooked type of tree, so I'm going to go under the spine, which is what controls the main shape, the length shape. I'm going to turn this disturbance up a bit and kind of jink it up. Jink frequency, and here's the amount, so I'm going to kind of twist it a bit as well. That might be a bit much. I'm going to bring the length down of the whole tree as well. Something like that. Good enough. Add some branches. Standard. There's some standard branches. Easy enough. So let's try to shape this guy to make him a little bit more believable. So I'm going to select the level 1 branches and go into start angle. I'm going to kind of bring these down a bit. I'm going to change the start angle so that they get up to the top, they go almost straight up. Like that. That works for me. Go like that. Add a few more of these. So under generation, we're at 5. And I'm going to warn you not to use this slider, because if you slide too fast this way, you can freeze your machine up, because it just happened to me. So I would do this numerically, just so you don't go off the charts and crash Speedtree. This is not so much of a big deal for branches as it is leaves, but just be warned of that. And another thing we want to do that you always want to check is go under Wireframe, and you can see right now we've got tons of polygons, especially in this trunk, that we don't need. I'm going to select the tree, and I'm going to turn everything to quads so we can visualize it a little bit better. You can see that there's a radial segment in here. It's just way too big. So we're going to go under segments, our trunk, and I'm going to pull this multiplier down about there. And if we go back to, you can see that did not change the shape much, and it just lowered our polygon count quite a bit. These radials, I'm going to bring these down. You can see it's not really changing the shape much until we start getting really low, but that's pretty good. I'm going to turn the cap. I guess I can't turn that down. Usually you can turn that down to 0. I bump the accuracy up a little bit. Yeah, so now we're at 156 quads for the trunk, which is way better. Same thing with these guys. Just bring the multiplier down, especially the radial, and these as well. And this is just really just kind of eyeballing it, and it also depends on where you're going to use this tree. If it's a background tree, less segments and all that stuff. These branches are a bit straight for some reason, so let's go under branching, spine. Let's disturb them a bit more. frequency up a little bit. Yeah. See? Much more realistic. Actually may even need a few more of these level 1s, so let's bring this up to 10. Yeah, that's better. Okay, works for me. I want some more of these level 2 branches as well. There's not enough of them. So again, maybe just go up to 10. That's better. And these are kind of spread just to the, not spread across these branches enough. See, they're just kind of sticking in a couple areas, which I'm not sure why that's happening, but let's take a look. And we look at first and last. We're just going to kind of mess with this. And I'm going to turn this to absolute and not relative. This is complicated to get into. Sometimes just switching between these help. They're still kind of all the same. Down. Let's go to the spine. Relative, let's switch that to absolute. That's getting better. Oh, we've got way too many. Back down. That's good. That's better. That's what we're looking for. One thing you can do that I didn't discuss last time is if you find something that, like this guy here, you just want to get rid of him. At the top of the interface, there's this edit button. You just click that, and then you click the thing that you want to mess with, and you can move it around if you want, or if you want to delete it, you can just hit delete and delete it, because some of these just won't look natural. That's good. So also want some kind of movement in this. As far as the branches go, let's add some sag. So I'm just going to highlight these two guys. Under forces, add and direction, and that gets us what we want. That just adds some gravity, so everything doesn't look like it's just shooting up into space. Add some leaves. So we're just gonna go to individual leaves. Get that. These are all camera facing. You would typically, you're gonna load up a leaf to put on these guys. You can control size and things here as well. Under type, we're just gonna add a type. Simple leaf. And we're gonna load up a new mesh, import new mesh. And then we're gonna go into our library, and for my CCAD students, I'll load up a couple leaves for you. It's just cherry leaf. Now we've got some nice leaves. Our tree. So that is a very simple tree, and also it's totally fine for a game or a background tree in a film. We might want to add a few more leaves. Again, generation, be very careful with this. So I'm just going to do it just one increment at a time. So we'll say try 8. You want to watch your poly count right here. So right now it's right around 48,000, which that's still okay. Get adventurous and go 10. Yeah, 10 works. And maybe get a little bit more of a spread in the leaves. We'll go onto our scalar value or shared values down, or move them up. just to get some more spread in there. And maybe add a bit of a roll, some more spread, just to give it a better look. And there we go. There is our simple tree. That should be more than enough to get you started in making trees for your scenes. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a shrub, which is basically the same thing as a tree, just a bit smaller. So again, I'm not going to go through every single step now. You should be familiar with it. So trunk for a shrub, be really small. So we're going to go under spine length and bring this bad boy way. Whoop, getting the wrong thing. Under here. I'm going to bring this down to like maybe 1, really small. And typically, like once we get the branching off of this, I would just delete it anyways. Go under the branch, go under radius, down, spine, and make this even smaller. We just need something for the branches to grow off of. So add geometry, branches, standard, and this happens sometimes where nothing's growing because these are set to relative. So if I set to absolute on both of these, should fix that problem. I have to grow the trunk a little bit. Yeah, see. Let's see where we can generation. Set these to absolute and bring that trunk down to 0 again. So all I did there was under the branching, under generation, instead of setting this to relative, which would pull the length of the spine for its growth, I'm just putting absolute, which means it's absolutely going to grow regardless of the length of the spine. Let's bring the length of these guys way in. And you're going to see that the level 2s are going to start disappearing because they're probably set to a relative. Yeah, so they're set to relative as well. Bring that in. So we're going to bring the scale of this whole thing way in to get a shrub. You can see our little scale guy over there. So that's a decent size for a shrub. And shrubs typically, they kind of have a round-ish look, and we're going to get that with forces. So we're going to grab these levels, these level branches, add direction, and depending on what kind of shrub you want to make, you can mess with this. So let's rotate this around. I'm going to make the shrub kind of grow up. I'm going to change the amount of force on these to be really high. And this is shrubby looking. And you're going to see the center's kind of empty. That's from the start angle. These guys. So under spine, bring the start angle down a little bit. And we're going to also want to make sure that this parent angle, this is just, it's basically growing based off the angle of the trunk. So with this parent angle, we're going to pull this way down so then we get a growth from 0 to 1. So we fill in the interior of our bush. May want a few more of these level 1 guys, so go to generation, frequency, just raise these up a bit. Yeah, that's good. And also with this, probably want the branch perturbance to be set up high, or spine perturbance. just going to kind of crank this up just to get it a little bit more shrubby. And that start angle's still not totally grooving. And even go with something like that. That's a pretty good shrub or bush. So let's mess with some of these other forces that we haven't dealt with yet. So I'm going to add a gnarl, which this kind of creates a twisting effect, which we go under forces. I'm going to crank it up just so you can see what it does. It's kind of twisting everything together. So we're just going to add a bit of that. And these are localized effects, so if you want to, you can translate it around. Well, maybe not gnarl. Now the magnet's a localized effect. That's pretty good. So let's add some curl to level 2s. Curl. Curl. Just kind of curl these up. This one might be localized. Nope, guess not. I think it is affected by rotation though. Oop. Interesting. That's something to look at. You have this attenuation, so if you want more curl in the middle and less at the end, you can click this attenuation and hit linear. And then you're going to get these effect rings. So as I bring the distance in, you're going to see how it just creates a fall off basically. So now at the center, there's 0. At the outer edge is the whole amount of this. So you can pull this distance around. You can create different effects with the fall off distance. So now at the center of the tree, there's not going to be much. You can see how it's affecting it, or the shrub, sorry. That works for me. With these effects, I would just mess around with them, just to see what you get. If you ever don't want to see the effects, I think you can turn them off, visibility off, maybe not. You can just select it and hit H. I'll hide it. And it just hides the icon. It doesn't undo the effect or anything like that. We're good to go. So just add some leaves on here. Just say individual leaves. Click on leaves, add a type. I'm going to import a new mesh under broad leaves. I think there's there's shrubs and flowers. So you can just kind of steal leaves from another shrub if you want. Sometimes you're just going to have to look around. This would be that. That kind of looks like shit. Try a different one. You can also import a custom mesh in here as well. So I'm just going to import a new mesh. If I can find some type of azalea maybe? Simple leaves, let's try that. And then I'm going to just grab these and pull them down to the leaves. That's better. So there's our little shrub. Pretty easy stuff, guys. You're just going to have to figure out what kind of plant that you want to make, what kind of shrub, and then just start going through and editing this stuff. Typically, you're just going to edit the spine, you're going to edit forces, you're going to edit generation, and you're going to edit the branch. Most of the stuff you don't have to deal with until you start doing animations and things like that. But you can see that once you start one of these, like, you can get all different kinds of stuff. And another thing you can do is select your tree and save your file before you do this. You can hit randomize, and this will randomize everything in this node tree. So you can sit there and get a bunch of different looks. Like, you could literally fill your scene with all these different random pieces once you have a good system set up. So there we go. I think I'm actually going to export this. Export selected as mesh. I'm going to go under Speedtree, save this as an XBX, and call it a shrub. One BX, save it. I'm going to save it to a Maya, just a base Maya export. All this stuff, just add as default and hit OK. And there's our shrub. And then I'm going to grab our tree. I'm going to export this as well. Call this tree _1. It's real quick. Just going to export the shrub again, just to make sure everything went okay with it. And now we have a tree and a shrub. And I will use those in the XGen demo that I will be posting shortly. And thank you, and post any questions or comments or problems that you run into. This stuff's pretty straightforward, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue. Thanks, guys.